Hello, my name is Joy Richardson, and today I'll be talking to you about debt. I'll be explaining the difference between good and bad debt. I'll also be giving some tips on how you can build your credit with debt. I'll also be telling you or giving tips on how you can try to stay out of debt, and I'll explain in more detail like the difference between what good debt is and what bad debt is, and how you can avoid even being in debt at all. But fun fact, if you didn't know, the richest people in the world probably like 50 million plus in debt. Kanye West is 50 million in debt and he's a billionaire. So just to keep that in mind, debt is not always bad. It can be really good if you play your cards right. But first, I'm gonna start off by telling you the difference between good and bad debt. So bad debt is things like, credit card loans, student loans. Student loans is not just bad debt though. It's when you don't pay your student loans, it becomes bad debt. Not paying your rent, not paying your car note, not paying your gas bill. Anything that you're supposed to pay for that you just decide not to pay for, it becomes debt. It becomes bad debt. It actually lowers your credit and it hurts you in the long run. So you're better off just, either not, getting that debt or just pay it off when you can. Good debt is anything that builds your net worth. So let's say like you go buy a house and obviously you couldn't afford the house like straight out, so you got a loan for the house, but that's good debt. There's nothing wrong with that. You go buy a car, but you couldn't afford the car straight out, so you'll get a loan. That's also considered good debt. Anything that builds your net worth is considered good debt. The biggest problem that people have with debt is they think all debt is bad debt, but that's not true. Just because you're in debt doesn't mean, you're broke or you're unstable financially. Like, debt is not always bad. Like I said, Kanye West is 50 billion, or not 50 billion, 50 million in debt, and he's a billionaire. He probably literally could pay his whole debt off, but it just wouldn't be smart. It wouldn't be beneficial to him. There's no need for it. So, for example, with so let me give you an example. Good debt. So you can go buy a house. Let's say you buy a house for, 20,000. You get a loan for 20,000. You live in it for 5-10 years. You pay that 20,000 off. Then you take a mortgage out on a house. You can take a mortgage out on a house for normally, at least half what it's worth, sometimes more. So let's say it's worth 40,000. So you get a $20,000 loan. So you take that $20,000 and you go buy another house for $20,000. So now you got two houses. So you rent the second house out and you charge them rent. Their rent will be whatever it costs you to pay off the mortgage. So let's say the mortgage payment is $500 a month. So now you're renting a house out for $500 a month. So now you're getting $500 a month just off that rental property. So now you have two houses and you're living for free basically because they're paying your mortgage payment. That's really good debt. That's how a lot of real estates make most of their money. They buy a house for, let's say, 40,000. They get a $20,000 loan. They go buy another house and they rent both of those properties out. So now they're renting both of those properties out for 500 a piece. It's paying off their mortgage payment, but they're also, keeping, another $200-300 just off the top of that, because they'll charge. They're not gonna charge 500 for rent. That's pretty cheap. So, for a house, that's really cheap actually. So that's one way most people, make a lot of money. Another way is like people, they do that with businesses. Their business is doing really good, so they get a loan for a business and they take that to start a whole nother business, and then that business blows up. So now they got two businesses and they're basically, the loan that they took, it's paying for itself and some. That's how you get in really good debt. That's what a lot of rich people do. They take the money that the government would give them and they just literally try to double it, but through, a long time, kind of like stocks. They put money into it and they kind of just hope it builds on its own. That's basically what they do for their businesses, as far as like real estate and, like grocery stores and things like that. A lot of people, like a lot of like real estates, matter of fact, most real estates are in debt, but they actually are not in debt because their properties that they're written off normally makes more than what they have to pay in mortgages. But I also said I'll give you tips about how to build your credit. That's how you can build your credit. If you got like people, if you're renting houses out and you got them paying your mortgage off, that's gonna build your credit. You can go, then you can go get a car loan and just pay that off. You can build your credit that way. Just paying your bills will build your credit. Like paying your bills on time, every time they're due, like before they're due. Like don't pay the day of their due. Like that's bad. Like don't get into that habit. Try not to do that. Like I read a book and it said if you can't buy something twice, don't buy it at all. And I really agree with that book. I agree with it to an extent though. Like you should apply that to most things, but things like buying a house, like 40,000, having 80,000 to buy a house, like that's a little steep. But think about it: if you got 80,000 and you buy a house for 40,000, you got 40 more thousand to do whatever you want to that house. At least 20,000 and still have 20,000. So really, you should really keep that in mind. But the biggest thing is for building your credit is just honestly just pay your bills, like pay your student loans, pay anything that you owe. Like if you owe it, just pay it back. Like you don't have to pay it back all at once. Like just pay it on time. Pay the monthly payments. They're usually low. Like student loans, you can get like a $50 monthly payment and you just pay it for like 20 years. But it's gonna build your credit. Credit cards is another way, like a really good way to build your credit. Just literally, get a credit card, buy the little things that you like, gas, like use the credit card to pay for gas, use the credit card to, buy your groceries, but then pay that stuff back. Don't use the credit card to buy shoes if you didn't have the money to buy shoes in the first place. That's how you get into bad debt. You get in that spiral and you just keep going down and downhill. Do things like use your credit card like it's cash. Like if you couldn't buy it in the first place, just don't buy it. On that note, if you can't afford it twice, just don't buy it.